We would like to begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of the land we are recording on today, the Wurundjeri Woi-wurrung peoples. We pay respects to elders past and present, and to any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people, especially young people, who are listening today. We acknowledge that sovereignty was never ceded. Satellite Foundation supports Treaty Victoria through our Reconciliation Action Plan. This was, and always will be, Aboriginal land. We recognise people who have lived and living experience of mental health challenges through experiencing it themselves or in their support for a loved one. We recognise the intersectional experiences of our community and welcome the unique perspectives that members of diverse communities bring to our space. Please take care of your own well-being and go gently while listening to this episode. We encourage you to check out the list of relevant resources which will be linked in the show description.
Based in Naarm, Melbourne, Australia, Satellite Foundation is a not-for-profit organisation that connects and empowers young people who have a family member living with mental health challenges. This may also include young people and families experiencing challenges with substance use, family conflict or violence, complex trauma, or other adverse life circumstances. This podcast is a resource made by young people for young people, about being a young person with caring responsibilities for family members navigating mental health challenges. My name is May, my pronouns she, her. I am a member of the Youth Advisory Council at Satellite, which is a group of young people aged between 18 to 25 who have a lived experience or living experience of supporting a family member with mental health challenges. Everybody in the Youth Advisory Council at Satellite have completed a Satellite program and helped to guide the future of Satellite. In this podcast, I will be taking on a producer role, so you may hear me chime in every now and then, but I'm joined by people also from the Youth Advisory Council. If you could let us know how you came to Satellite and what your position is, that would be fantastic.
Hello, I'm Charlie, my pronouns are they, them. I found Satellite through a social media ad, did a program last year, and now I am a YAC member and I'm also a casual facilitator at Satellite.
Hi, I'm Jasmine, she, her pronouns. There was a job going for the YAC and so I just applied and that's how I found out about Satellite.
Hi, I'm Ren and I use she, they pronouns. I found out about Satellite 3 years ago now through one of my teachers who sent me an opening for the YAC. I joined the YAC, did one of the programs at Satellite, and I'm also now a casual facilitator.
Great, thank you. What is really important is just providing a bit of a definition before we just jump into our experiences. A young carer is a young person under the age of 25 years old who intends to provide care, assistance or support for a family member with a mental illness, physical illness, disability, chronic illness, or someone who is aged or lives with an addiction. Of course, it may look different. Everybody is different when it comes to life as it is, let alone the added layer of caring for another person. Let's jump into a discussion about what it means to be a young carer.
Being a young carer, I didn't know what that word was until I came along to a Satellite camp. But I think for me, it means showing care to the people that I love in different ways. My caring role has really fluctuated. It's not like a fixed state where it's the same thing every day or every week.
They generally are looking after an adult, or it can be a child like a sibling or a cousin, aunt, uncle, mum, dad, anything like that.
Yeah, I think being a carer for me, it's not like a hat that you put on or take off, and there's a lot of like responsibility that comes with caring that I don't feel is always spoken about. And it's not always just the physical parts, it can be like the caring for emotions, especially when it is something like chronic illness or substance abuse where it really is like fluctuating over time. It's a role that I'm constantly thinking about, like how is this person, what support will they need next week?
And you're having to constantly be there to look after this person. It just sort of comes upon us and then we do it because we have to, and often we don't even realise that it's not normal.
I definitely think the term young carer means something completely different for every young person who identifies as a young carer. because of the stigma around mental health. People's relationship with the term can be very different. I sometimes feel comfortable calling myself a young carer and sometimes still feel like, oh, that's a bit of a strong term. I don't want to say that because I feel like I've grown up with my responsibilities just being normal. In my family, it wasn't anything special.
When you talk about the impacts of being a young carer, a few things that come to mind, like loneliness.
There's that level of holding back. When you have friends that don't necessarily understand or don't have that knowledge, you're friends with them and you're hanging out with them and you're having a good time, but then you're here halfway holding back because you don't either feel safe enough or you feel like you don't know how to explain it or you don't even realise it.
I think what people don't realise is that when you are a carer, it trickles over into those friendships, and you might take the role of the mediator in friendships, or listening and not having a reciprocal friendship because you're so used to caring for others and not for yourself.
My entire primary school, it was so hard because I had so many friends. It was friendship through the fact that I was obligated to help them. It's very hard to sort of recognise that you can say no and that you can be a little selfish and all that kind of stuff.
I first really felt the loneliness from being a young carer when I was 11 years old, and whenever I think back to that time, the confusion hits me the most because I was feeling really lonely, but I was also feeling really confused of why I was feeling lonely. I didn't fully understand what my role was at home or why I couldn't put any of that into words. I didn't feel like my friends would understand if I told them that I had to be there for my family. It was so much that I couldn't explain, and I think that lack of being able to just be understood without having to explain in such detail was why I felt so lonely.
So it sounds like there's been some similar experiences you've had growing up. I wonder as well if there's, outside of the kind of loneliness aspect, any other impacts that your caring responsibilities have had on your school or work experience?
With that, it's hard because a lot of the time there's this barrier because teachers, they get training and they get taught all these different things, but they don't always get taught the carer's side of things. It's hard because there's that lack of understanding and resources within the school system for young carers.
When you hold so much responsibility for helping or saving or fixing the person that you're caring for, it puts a lot of stress on your nervous system, and that doesn't go away with a bath. Unfortunately, I wish I did. I had a lot of baths as a kid. It's not a quick fix, and when it isn't addressed and when you don't have a name for what you're experiencing, when you don't know that you are a young carer and therefore you do need some support yourself, it can lead to a lot of anxiety and depression and other mental health conditions.
I think the biggest impact that I've had from being a young carer is burnout. Trying to go for such a long time of being there for everyone, as well as having all of the responsibilities from work or school. You turn 16 and you get driving and get a part-time job and do VCE and what do you want to do at uni, all put on you at the same time, as well as personal relationships, and then coming home and being in a caring role. It's been a lot of having to readjust to be what I can do is enough, and I don't have to constantly push myself to the breaking point for everyone else.
You can see a lot of other young people connecting and listening to this, oh yeah, I think that's a bit of me.
Conversations like this are important to spread awareness and to share stories as well.
I wonder if we could reflect a bit on, say, some of the strengths that you've all gained from your experiences of being a young carer.
I think the main one for me would be maturity. You can have someone who's 13 and they already know how to do a budget, they know how to go shopping, they know how to organise different things or how to put on loads of washing. It's actually just being the adult of the house, whether you're an adult yourself or not.
I think that a lot of young carers grow up in an environment that is quite unpredictable, and that comes with a lot of challenges, but a positive that I've taken away from my own experience is I'm very resilient. When I have a setback or something goes wrong, now I'm just okay, well, there's always a way to problem solve. and move through it. And I think with that comes determination. I'm determined in other areas of my life, like with education and going for things that I want, which is a really cool strength to take away.
I think empathy, compassion, and connection are some of the biggest strengths that I've taken away from being a young carer. Just being able to love and care deeply for the people around us. For example, my sister and I are really close, and I don't think we would be as close as we are if we didn't have the shared experience of being a young carer. I've also gained a passion for connection and understanding through my experiences and have turned that into work. As I said, I work as a facilitator now at Satellite, so I get to hold those spaces for younger participants, spaces that I wish I had when I was their age, to just sit and be like, I see you, I hear you.
Yes, there's definitely a lot of impacts on your personal life and friendships and schoolwork, everywhere else when it comes to caring. There's also some positives that comes out of being a young carer. I feel like I've been able to build my skills and empathy for everyone else but myself growing up. But now that I've taken a step back from my caring role, I'm trying to pivot that empathy towards myself, and it feels a bit strange sometimes. But I have realised that even though it's uncomfortable, it's still a strength. Does anyone else kind of resonate with that?
I feel like it's very easy, and I've certainly experienced this where you can get very stuck in the mud. Is there a light, or can I change? Can I set boundaries, or find my own identity outside of caring? But it's definitely possible.
I like to use my caring brain for myself a lot of the time. So when I'm having a hard day and I'm struggling to identify my own needs or care for myself, I take a step back and view myself as my younger inner child. So I'm not crying, I'm looking at my 5-year-old self crying, and I am thinking, what would I do to comfort her? What would I do to care for her? It's kind of taking my instincts to care for other people and putting it towards myself. I'm caring for little me inside of me.
I wonder if there's anything that you can think of in your caring experience that would have been supportive for yourself.
One thing I always wished for was an adult that saw me outside of the caring role. In my early 20s, I was connected with a social worker who took the time to get to know me. She never rushed me. She would listen to me talking about my family and wanting to care for them, but she also would try and bring the conversation back to me and support ways for me to care for myself, and introduced terms around boundaries and stuff that I just wasn't familiar with. If there are any young carers listening, if you are able to seek a safe relationship with an adult who can provide that space for you, it is really meaningful and impactful.
For me, it was actually my music teacher in high school. I think it's important to realise that adults can support you even if they don't know what's happening. And I feel like he really supported me through so much without even realising he was doing it, just by being supportive and being an amazing teacher.
It was similar for me. My high school drama teacher saw me for who I was and what I could do. She was the one that showed me Satellite. Finding multiple people in a space that can be like, yeah, I get it, and sit without that judgment is really powerful. And especially if they're people your age, finding a community is really, really important.
I think there is no pressure to tell a person something in order to get support. You can still get support without someone knowing.
You don't have to explain
Exactly.
yourself.
You don't have to explain yourself. There have been a few times where I've just randomly showed up to the office, whether it was a busy day or not, and no one asks any questions. They'll go, oh, hi, and then I'm like, hello. I think it's that trust, which is something I think is good about Satellite.
Sometimes it's just really, really nice to have a space where you can just let loose and be yourself.
I also think that friendships are really important. Finding people that maybe don't relate to everything that you've experienced yourself. We're all different. The person that you feel safe and comfortable and seen around can be a really supportive factor.
Where might you find some of those strong connections that you feel like you can be yourself?
I've found them through the advocacy work that I do at Satellite. It's always a really uplifting environment and positive space to find yourself in.
I've found online groups to be really supportive, especially with connecting with other neurodivergent people, as well as queer sporting clubs, where you don't have to unpack everything about your life, but it is social and movement, which is really good as well.
Meeting someone in person, that level of connection is very important. It's really encouraging to know that there are these things out there that you can go to and find like-minded people. We are coming to the end of our podcast now. I'm thinking we might go around and share like a little tip or just something to say to people watching. I would say go easy on yourself and get some sleep. What about you?
Oh goodness. I would say learn how to listen to your body cues. Try and identify when your body is screaming no, because you're probably a bit disconnected.
I would say take care of your inner child and try to find joy and purpose in the simple things.
Thank you all for listening and for everyone who's been involved in this process. Mostly the Youth Advisory Council at Satellite Foundation, as well as staff. If you've enjoyed this resource, you can send feedback via the comment section below. If you want to learn more about the things we've spoken about, you can check out the links to resources in the separate resource handout. And finally, if you think there's a young person in your life who might benefit from some support, feel free to share this podcast with them or point them into the direction of Satellite Foundation. You can check us out at satellitefoundation.org.au. Thanks for listening.